On today's top 10, I'll be doing my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. What makes my top 10 horror movie? A couple of things. The fun factor, how much I enjoyed watching the movie. If I have good memories of the movie, a lot of my picks might have something to do with watching as a kid, or some connection that way. And replay value. There's a lot of great horror movies out there, but what I put in my top 10 are the top 10 movies that I can watch over and over and over again, and I never get tired of. So yeah, there's the criteria for my top 10. Before I get into the top 10 itself, maybe what I'll do is I'll go through the runner-ups. So, runner-up in my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time, the first runner-up is The Thing, John Carpenter's remake. This is an awesome remake. Probably I would say this is probably by far one of the best remakes ever made, at least in the way of horror movies. John Carpenter took the initial Thing movie, which I think was in the mid-50s, and elaborated on it. I would say that this movie stands up really well to watching now. The special effects in this movie were astounding, relying on actual live effects. They didn't have computer graphics. They didn't have anything like that. You had real animatronic puppets that were used in this movie. Just a great movie. Definitely would say Thing is one of my runner-ups for top 10 horror movies. Next runner-up on my list is probably Hellraiser 4, Bloodline. The reason for this, Hellraiser, great movies by far. Hellraiser 1 is a classic, but I would say though that Hellraiser Bloodline brought everything together. It gave a background story to the puzzle box. It had some really neat ideas of Pinhead and the Cenobites going after the bloodline of the guy that created the puzzle box. And we also got a good glimpse of the future as well. So really great movie. Definitely want to say that that's one of my runner-ups is Hellraiser Bloodline. Another runner-up in my top 10 horror movies of all time is Phantasm. This is a great movie. I would almost say Phantasm 2 was a little more enjoyable to watch, but can't go wrong with the original, the classic Phantasm. For those who haven't watched Phantasm, I would say check it out. It's a bit of a complicated story. It's definitely original. I would say one of the most original horror movies of all time is Phantasm. And I don't even want to even tell you about it. I would just say if you haven't seen it, check it out. Phantasm. Another runner-up in my list of top 10 favorite horror movies is Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. This is from the Camp Crystal Lake to Manhattan box set, so it has both Part 5 and Part 6 on there. But definitely Part 5, one of my favorite Friday the 13ths. Jason X was alright. I like Jason though in it. Jason Goes to Hell was interesting. Friday the 13th Part 7, New Blood, is my favorite looking Jason, but I would probably say Part 5 and Part 3 are my favorite Jasons. And Part 5, there's just something about the death scenes in Part 5. They were all interesting. I would almost say I'd like for someone to challenge me and tell me of a Friday the 13th that had more interesting death scenes in Part 5. Between the belt strap to the eyes, the garden shears, great movie. likable characters. Every character was unique from one another. The teens. Definitely want to check it out. That's Friday the 13th Part 5, one of my runner-ups for top 10 horror movies of all time. And the last runner-up is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Halloweens are one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I love Halloween 3, even though it got crapped on to death. I will say, if you watch Halloween 3 on its own without attaching Michael Myers or anything to it, Halloween 3 is an enjoyable movie. Halloween 4, though, I quote this movie all the time, Halloween 4. And me and my girlfriend used to watch Halloween 4 all the time. We used to have like Halloween movie-thons kind of thing. And there was always I always chuckled at some scenes in the movie. When Rachel and what's her name? Rachel and the little girl. I can't remember her name now. I'm drawing a blank. Anyways, I'll put it in the comment section. But I always laugh when they go to the store to pick out a Halloween costume, and is it Brody says to them, "We've got the best Halloween costumes in town." I always say they probably have the only Halloween costumes in town. So definitely one of my favorite movies is Halloween 4. Not one of my top 10, but definitely up there.